What's good, folks? This Lee Black from TFG Ratchet, Real Talk for Real Men. Let's talk about the Oscars. They were telecast last night. This is the 96th televised anniversary of the Oscar Awards, and this is the biggest night in film, television, movies, you name it. The Oscars are it. This is the epitome of their craft for actors, actresses, directors, movies. This is the night that they've all been building up and waiting for. So it did go off last night without a hitch. There was no major moments of embarrassment. And in fact, they did a few things a little differently. They decided to broadcast the Oscars 1 hour earlier than you typically would have found it. So instead of it coming on at 8 o'clock, they decided to broadcast this at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, for those attending the awards in California, sunny California, with it being on Pacific Standard Time, that meant that this show started at 4 p.m. Whoever decided to make this decision, it wasn't a great decision in my personal opinion. I get why they did it because they were thinking in terms of how the Oscars tends to run over 3.5 to 4 hours. So they felt like if they start the show an hour early, people would be more apt to stay up and watch it, not having to get to bed a lot later. Because let's face it, folks, we have so many choices when it comes to television and streaming that it's just difficult to get people to sit still for this long period of a time. Did it work? Not in my opinion. In fact, I was looking forward to the pre-show where you got to see them on the red carpet and talk about them, about their appearance and what everybody was wearing. And so I was actually thrown off with the fact that it started at 7 o'clock. By the time I realized it, I popped in. The show was already on. It was hosted by Jimmy Kimmel for the fourth time, I should say, and it was what you've come to expect from a Jimmy Kimmel hosted show. Dry wit, dry jokes, nothing too offensive, but of course, people are going to find harm in just about everything because here in America, we're so soft and politically correct that any little thing offends us. The show itself was long, it was boring. I'm not even going to get into who won what. Only thing you need to know is the movie Oppenheimer. It won 7 of the 13 categories that it was up against, and so it won the biggest awards in those categories: best movie, best actor, best director. That's all you need to know. Everything else was window dressing. Oppenheimer was the most popular movie so far of last year. It and Barbie, it ran away with the awards. I personally didn't like Oppenheimer. I thought it was boring. It was tedious. It was long winded. It was an exercise in futility, but that's just my take. Having said that, I do not tune into the Oscars because I typically watch the movies. 9 times out of 10, the movies that get nominated, and especially the ones that win, they're not movies that I actually enjoy. I've always felt like the Oscars is an opportunity for Hollywood to suck its own dick and kiss its own ass. This was no exception. It was a bunch of rich, privileged people sitting in the audience that was oblivious to the real world that's going on around them. They had an opportunity to smooze and kiss up to one another. And like I said, kiss each other asses. There was even a moment where they had some actual Native Americans. I call them Indians, but that's not politically correct. But that's what the fuck they were. They had a whole stage full of fucking Indians on stage beating some drums and chanting or whatever the fuck that they do. The only thing was missing that they wasn't smoking a peace pipe. Now, this had, in my opinion, nothing to do with movies other than the fact that I think it makes rich people consciences feel good. And they got a standing ovation. And I even put out there on social media, why the fuck are we giving a standing ovation to a bunch of Indians beating on drums? But that's Hollywood for you folks. And that was indicative of what the night looked like. It was a bunch of overprivileged rich people that was just uttering shit that just really doesn't happen in the real world. When you see people accepting awards talking about this is the greatest night of my life and the best thing ever happened to me, and oh my God, I couldn't have done it. These are people that don't live in the same America that I do. These are the people that are oblivious to the fact that gas prices, food prices, the cost of living, housing, and all that shit it's at a ridiculous rate. There was a couple of political jokes that Jimmy Kimmel cracked because he's Jimmy Kimmel. Of course, he likes to taunt former President Trump. So, of course, Hollywood, being conservatives, They agreed with them. They got laughs, this, that, and the other. But overall, it was just a boring show, just to be honest. A live performance of Ken, all decked out in pink by the actor Ryan Gosling. I just didn't get it, folks. Billie Eilish won for best song for some bullshit song she sang. I don't know. It just was not good. The only good thing about the Oscars for me, people, folks, is just looking around in the audience and I guess to see who the fuck is still alive and just getting to look at some of the famous faces and just imagining that some of these people are as full of shit as I imagine them to be. But overall, I had nothing better to do. Sports is shit. There aren't any really good movies out. They don't make a horror movie that's worth a damn anymore. I'm tired of looking at the fuckery and foolishness of reality shows. And so this was what I had to live with last night. So it was on, but I was more watching me than it watching it. But if you really wanted to see what happened, Google it. It'll tell you who the winners are. And of course, you can look at the best dress and worst dress. That's probably the most entertaining thing about the Oscars. Just looking at rich, privileged fucking people who just spending a ridiculous amount of money on outfits for one night. Anyway, that's my take. I'm Lee Black. I hope you continue to follow my content. Please subscribe to my channels. That's Real Talk for Real Men. Subscribe to TFG Ratchet. And don't forget to hit that notification bell because I like to talk about anything and everything and give my view on it because I am an opinionated asshole and everybody is equally opportunity for me to offend. So I'm Lee Black. Peace out.